service as a teaching assistant in my department, material science and engineering. So that was for the 1 year. But during that whole 1 year, I had the time to now work towards my graduate studies. So before I get into the Korea stuff and how Korea ended up being my last choice, I did applications to several other places. So the US, the UK, the Erasmus Mundus, the various scholarships that we know about. Yes. So that's basically the general overview of how I got into applying for scholarships. I think maybe as the conversation goes on, then I would give details about how I then landed on Korea and then how I landed on the particular school and all that. Yeah, so this is basically a fair introduction.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that so you had a plan. That's what I'm drawing out from it. You had a plan of action, and I think you quite mentioned that how Korea was your last choice. At what point did you decide that okay, I wanted to make Korea my last choice? Why did you do that? And which other applications have you done? I know there's a little bit out, but just from the conversation, that's why I'm drawing you back on that.
Okay, so we started our national service in September of 2021, and so around September of 2021, I started working towards applying to the US, several schools, which maybe I could mention a few if anyone needs, but generally a lot of schools in the US offering the courses I was interested in, which is something in the areas of material science or energy science or energy materials or anything relating to that. So I registered for the GRE exams also, studied from around September, did some applications and all that, went through some interviews, and I mean, some ups and downs here, have to do some payments here, have to do, that whole hurdle of school applications, right? So I went through all that until March 2022. Yes. So how I heard about or even thought about having graduate school in Korea is simple. The University of Ghana sent out a communique of Daegu Jeonbuk Institute of Science and Technology, which is the school I'm in, having an opening for students to apply. That's basically what happened. I didn't have any idea about Korea or have graduate school in Korea, but when I saw that mail, I just noted it down because at that point I knew that it is March. Already I've missed the fall. Yes, I've missed the fall intake, and maybe I could be looking for the summer intake for the US schools and the UK and the German schools, if I could get some scholarship in Germany or any other options I was looking at. But also, I was also then becoming more open to other options such as Korea. So when I saw that mail from the University of Ghana, I just noted it down that maybe I would try it. And then my advisor at the time, Dr. Tufor, also saw the mail and then advised me to. He knew about, he did some research into the school and the environment, and he advised me to apply for it. So that's basically it. The University of Ghana sent a communique on this particular school. Yes, that was how I got to know about this school in Korea and this school and this scholarship. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So the right energy, like I'm trying to highlight the key point in all the conversation,
Yeah.
because it's very important that you look out for those communiques like we all share and be able to apply for it. One other thing, okay, so what really is like the Korean government scholarship? What does it entail? What's the package that comes with it? Yeah, we'd like to know that.
Okay. So I have to give this fair disclaimer before I talk about the Korean government scholarship. So during the application of the school to this particular school, as I said, I received a mail for this particular school. So I didn't go searching for Korean schools or Korean scholarships. I just had the school name and then the courses, and then I applied. So in the application, or even in the communique, it was stated that there was going to be a scholarship for tuition and then stipend. So I applied directly to the school, and during that process, I then got to know about the scholarship itself. So the Korean government scholarship is not a scholarship scheme. How should I put it? Like, I don't know how to, maybe it's not a scholarship scheme like maybe the Fulbright scholarship scheme, but it's kind of like something embedded in the Korean graduate school system. Yes, so it's not a scholarship scheme you can apply directly to, but then in most graduate schools, when you have been accepted, maybe through a professor or through my case, I'll share my case soon, but through my case, you would have the Korean government scholarship cater for part of your that is your not the stipend, the tuition. Yes, the tuition. Yes. So the Korean government scholarship is not a scholarship scheme in itself, but then when you apply to the schools, then part of the funds that you are given covers the tuition. Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. So that means that you would have to have an application admission first before you are considered for it. So it's sort of like a graduate assistantship position sort of thing that fully funds your schooling, right?
Yes. So per my school, that is what it is. It is not something aside from what everyone is going through. It comes with the assistantship or anything you are selected to.
Okay. Okay. So I think that leads to my next question is that, so that it varies for all schools, and is it applicable to all courses?
So as far as my research has covered, it exists in a lot of schools which are science based. Yes. So for the other of my colleagues in Korea who I've got a little information from, they a lot of them don't fall under this scholarship, but then they are under other applications which I would also mention, other scholarships which I would mention later, or I can mention now.
Yeah, you can carry on. I think you can carry on. If Anna or Charity can put the names, or as you mentioned in the chat box as well, as you're mentioning, people can actually also look out for that. Yeah.
Okay. So there is KGS, which is the Global Career Scholarship, which is also known as KGSP. Yeah, so that's one of the most popular ones, and that one, it runs for both masters and for PhD. And for that one, how it works is that you learn the Korean language for a year, and then you do your master's course. Yes, so that's not what I am doing. Yes, so that's KGSP, and it's usually for the other MPhil related courses. There's also PSPS. Yeah, PSPS. I think it has a Korean meaning, but you can definitely do checks on that and also have that. And there's one last one, which is KOICA, KOICA, KOICA. Yes, but the best resource I can give would be a link to the Korean embassy in Ghana, and there you would find all the scholarships that you can access as a Ghanaian. Yes, so that's the best resource I can give concerning scholarships in Korea.
Okay, I think for the sake of other nationalities who are here as well, is it applicable? Did you see a list of countries that are eligible for that application?
For which particular one?
I think
for the
in
Korean
African countries, Indians as well. I can see them all here.
Yeah. So for most of these scholarships, I believe most countries are included. For my particular, which is the Korean government scholarship, I know Indians are included, Pakistan, almost all African countries I know about. So yeah, so I think the exclusions will be very few. Yes.
Okay, so for your scholarship and probably from the list of scholarships you've had to talk to people about, what do you think are the basic requirements or what sort of criteria are they looking out for in terms of academic probably let's break it down. Academic qualification, is that an age limit? Do you need to do any language skills, or do you need to have any Korean language, probably a Duolingo Korean language study before you get in? So I'll repeat that. What are the requirement and criterion in terms of academic qualification? Is there an age limit for that? And do you need any English language skill test? Or do you need a basic Duolingo Korean language study before you get the scholarship? Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to be a little biased to my scholarship, yes, because that's the one I know about very well. So with mine, for example, I said I was going to talk about how mine was peculiar. So with the Korean government scholarship, as I said, you don't apply to the scholarship directly, but you apply to the schools. And then when you're accepted, the Korean government scholarship covers some part of your tuition. So what happened is, or what normally happens is, just like in the US, you have to find a professor or have to find some either some TA or RA job or something like that. But I didn't get a professor before the application, but I still applied anyway. And then I was granted an interview. And then after the interview, God being so good, a professor then reached out to me and then I had my opportunity. So my case was a bit exceptional, but usually, and at least I can speak for the sciences, that you would need to find a professor. That's the most straightforward, most guaranteed way you could be selected, just like how it works in the US. Yes. So for my application, the academic requirements weren't so high. It was definitely a second class upper. Yes. And for the age limit also, I don't think there was a specific age limit. There wasn't anything on maybe either you're married or not married. I have colleagues who are here and are married, so they have a married apartment, hostel, and everything for PhD students who are married, and they come with their whole with their whole family and all that thing sorted for. And for the language also, per my scholarship, there's no requirements. no requirement at all. But it will then depend on the school and then the type of scholarship that is being run by the school. So for mine, I didn't even know how to say hello in Korean when I got here. But then, yeah.
So what's the hello now? Ni hao.
No, 안녕하세요.
Hey, you're getting on well, I think.
Oh yes.
So are you taking a language on the side just to be able to find your way around it?
Oh yeah. So now I do take the Korean course just to be able to speak to them. Yeah.
Great. So all your lessons are in English, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. I think somebody is asking what is the name of the school, just to set the premise.
Yeah. Daegu Jeonbuk Institute of Science and Technology.
Okay.
Let me see if I can type that.
Yeah, if you could type that in the chat box, that would help. I think by the end of the lesson, or the session, we'll all be saying hello in Korean language. So all of you get ready. You're going to come on and we're going to say hello or something, or bye-bye something in Korea, because today we are in Korea. Okay, that goes straight into it. So you applied to the school, obviously. You said you needed a second class upper. That was a 2-1. Were there any sort of essays you had to write? Was there any motivation, personal letter, that you had to write?
Yes. So I used my CV, transcript, personal statements, and then for this particular school, they had something they did where with the interview session, you have to do a presentation of yourself. So it's not a presentation on anything but yourself. You are supposed to write myself and come and present for 3 minutes. Yeah. So you'd have to talk about yourself and your aspirations, your goals, maybe a little research you have done, and then, yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to get my mind around that whole application as you're speaking, and I'm just trying to think about, okay, so I go to this university and I go and find a particular course I'm interested in, and I start the application, and obviously they ask me for all these documents, which I do. Now, are the schools under the scheme of the scholarship such that they are aware that as an African and I'm applying, I need funding, so they're going to consider me for that? Or do I need to express interest in that particular scholarship on the website? How do I go about that? Just trying to bridge the link based on my knowledge. Yeah.
So with this particular school, the Jeonbuk Institute of Science and Technology, I'm not able to type because of the way my phone is, but if you type Digest Korea, you'll be able to get all the information. That's DGIST Korea, you'll be able to get it. So with this particular school, Digest, everyone is on that scholarship. For undergraduates to graduates, everyone is on that scholarship. So with this particular school, you don't have to worry about anything. You just apply. Once you get it, you know that you are being covered. You are good, stipend, everything.
Okay. Do you know of any business student, art students who are on that scholarship? Or because it's an institute of science and technology, maybe they could be in other universities, but because yours is mostly science, you're within that scope.
Yes. So I think maybe in some other Korean universities, there might be some business students on that scholarship. That is graduate students.
Yeah.
Yes. But with Korea, they have this Institute of Science and Technology schools. We have KAIST, which is the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Tech. They have KAIST, Digest. There are 4. I think there are 4 IST schools. Yes. Yeah. So I think the IST schools have a separate kind of link with the Korean government scholarship. Yes. So that's how come we receive funding in that way. So everybody, even the undergraduates, are all under the scholarship. So
That's a
no
very
one,
good thing. Yeah, that's a very good thing you're
yeah,
telling me now. I think you
yeah,
want, if you can highlight a bit on that. So that means that if I'm from undergraduate, I finished SHS in Ghana and I want to
yeah,
apply for university,
yeah,
bachelor's, I can be covered under that scholarship.
yeah, yeah. So the gist is the newest in the IST schools, and they just opened their undergraduates for international students just last year.
I'm
Yeah,
so shocked because it's rarely, and I
yeah,
always, we meet people who ask, and we're like, okay, we don't specify in this because we know that for international student undergraduate, it's quite difficult to get a scholarship unless you have an exceptional
yeah,
ability.
yeah,
You need to, I mean, if you want to come to school in the UK or something, international bachelor's, you need to have maybe swimming skills, basketball, something that, they cannot get exceptional, or you're the tallest man ever in the Guinness Book of Record, to be able to throw a shot in the basketball, then we can give you that consideration. But I think it's very interesting. And most of the undergraduate scholarships that are given in our respective countries are alliance, okay, between Ghana and that particular country. So there's an alliance with Ghana and Ukraine. There's an alliance with Ghana and maybe China for training medical doctors. There's a Ghana, Russia with medical doctors and stuff like that. And those, are highly like whom sort of thing. So I think it's very interesting. We would like to highlight this as well
yeah.
to a couple of people because I've had people asking me quite a number of times. So thank you very much for that. So I think that even answers my next question where I was going to get to. And I think you answered my questions on the documents that are sort of required. It's sort of brief and short. If you would tell me what is the percentage rate of acceptance, so out of probably 100 people that apply, how many people out of your head? I don't know. I know you're not the admission officer. If you can give us a queue, maybe in a total number of admission, there were about 100 people that came for that particular year. Then we know there's a high chance. What do you think?
Mm, I think so. With my method of applying, or with how normally most people apply, first they want to find a professor, right?
Mhm.
And in finding the professor, I mean, you have to just send an email. And usually, when you don't have maybe a colleague, or you don't have a link to the professor, and you are just out of the blue sending the professor a cold mail, we all know the chances of that is very slim. Yes. So with that, that's a difficult path, right? But then if you're able to cross that path, I think the rest there's like 80% chance. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I mean the interview is just basically they'll ask, I think there's a part where they ask some technical questions. So you'd have to choose maybe some, I think they give some topics on science, and then some topics on math or so. And then you just answer some 2 or 3 questions. You do the presentation about yourself, and then you're done. So I think the challenging part is getting a professor. So with mine, when I didn't get the professor, I kind of didn't have to apply again, because like, I mean, you don't have a professor, why are you applying? But then I just had some inspiration to still apply. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I found a professor, fortunately, after the the interview. So this is a sign to somebody. Maybe if you're applying and you don't get the professor, you can still try at least.
Yeah.
I did it, and I had it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that will worked for you. But what do you think? Like we are talking about a very
Yeah.
slim chance in cold emails. How do you think with now you're amongst them, okay? What do you think will be the best way to get around getting a professor? Um, answering you. Like example
So
for me,
first of all,
mhm, carry on, yeah.
um, I think you should look through the schools, the Korean schools, the ones that are offering the courses that you are interested in first, and then maybe look through the rankings and see how they are performing, especially if there's any chance that you know someone in one of the schools. It is best that you try to find one of the schools that have a lot of international students and a lot of maybe African students. If you're African, it's kind of raises your chances of getting into that particular school. The reason why I'm saying that is in my school, it was relatively easier for them to pick me, even though I didn't have a professor, because the Africans here, I think Ghanaians are about 8, and then there are only 2 Nigerians and then 1 person from Morocco. So you realize that they have become somewhat familiar to Ghanaians. So it would be easier for them to accept more Ghanaians, because when you're applying from anywhere around the world, they have no background of you. Sometimes they don't even know your university. So it's kind of hard for them to just accept you all the way from Africa all the way here. So sometimes you have to look through the schools and then try to see if this is a school that is well accepting to international students. And then when you find a school, then you look through the professors. I'm sure a lot of people who are applying know this whole process. And you look through their research and see the kind of stuff that they do, look through maybe some current work that they are doing, and then try to show some interest in that kind of field, and maybe try to attach some of the work that you are doing related to their research, and then do that application in that way. But I mean, that's the cold emailing part. But if I was to apply again, maybe one extra thing I'll do would be to try to go through maybe some of the students also, especially the international students. So maybe when you go to the professor's page, mostly sometimes you're able to find the students there also, and maybe you find their emails there. The students are definitely not going to accept you. But then sometimes when you just express maybe interest in the lab through maybe one of the students, especially the students is African, you are able to get some tips, or you are able to maybe even get a heads up. Because for me, what I did was, when I knew I didn't have a professor, I went through the labs of this school, and then I found some Ghanaians. So sends them an email that I'm applying to this as a professor. Do you think? They told me point blank that if you have not gotten a professor, it's your chances are slim. But then they were like, well, I think you can still apply and see. Yes. So it's based on what they told me that I still applied, and then I got it. So I think that's the tip that I can share about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes, yeah, I mean, there are rules. I always say that I'm not a follower of a lot of rules, because I've had to break them. And so many times, things that were sort of requirement, I just look past it and I applied anyways. I mean, what harm can it bring to me? It's either a no, which I'm expecting, or a yes, which I wouldn't be expecting, and I'll act very surprised. So who really, really knows? Yeah. So I think that leads us to the next question. So when is the deadline for the scholarships? I think people right now are feeling like, okay, I want to go for this. When is the deadline? And what does the scholarship offer? How much are we talking about here?
Okay, so first of all, the deadlines. So
they differ.
Particularly, my school they differ with the schools. But particularly my school has 3 intakes. They have the spring 1, spring 2, and fall. So I would share a link to, maybe I'll share it with Anna.
I think you could do that now. I think the link to the website and the link that you want to share, I can just roll over the meeting whilst I give you time to be able to do that. So I'll just give like a sort of like a summary of what you've said so far, so you can buy you time to do. So if you've joined us now, or if you've been joining us, currently we are speaking to Gerald Lassie. He's currently studying material science and engineering at Jibuk Institute of Science and Technology. I hope I passed that, in Korea, on the Korean government scholarships. So what he has had to say is that for the Korean government scholarship is not separate from applying to the school. So if you've recognized certain school that you want to apply in Korea, you go to the school and apply for it. Now, everybody that sort of like applies are considered for the scholarship. So it's not sort of like a separate application process. In the course of his application and admission, he was required to send his CV, he was required to send a personal statement, and also he was required to send a video interview of himself, a 3-minute video interview of himself, where he introduced, generally himself. And he's also made mention of a couple of other Korean scholarships that currently other people are on, and is in the chat box. The one that I can remember on top of my head is the PSPS, and the KOICA. KOICA is KOICA, and the KGS, which is the Global Korean Scholarship, both for the master's and the PhD. Now, I also made mention of a highlight that this application also covers for undergraduate studies. So that also helps. So if you have any cousin or any friend or sister that has finished university and probably struggling to be able to enter into the university, you can suggest this to them and help them through to the application. One thing he also said was that it's very important because then you need a supervisor, but he didn't actually get a supervisor before the application, but he still got through. So you need a supervisor. You can go on the school's website, you can go on the lab's website or the group's website, search for that particular focus study and be able to reach out to them. But there's a slim chance, obviously we all know, in cold emails, but you can shoot your shot and still go for the application anyways. It can separate you from any other. So we are currently sharing links to the scholarship and the school he's currently on. So if you're interested, please do click the link in the chat box on Zoom. For those on Facebook, we will share it after the session, or some of my co-hosts could also be sharing that link in the chat box on Facebook, and you can pop in your questions as and when we are going on. So Gerald, are you good to go? Okay. We will still buy time for that. So if you have sort of any questions as well, do pop them in the chat box. And I always say, one scholarship platform is a stepping stone to another. Now, I know a number of people that have had to, use one country as a stepping stone to others. So I personally know if you're going to be joining our Scholarship 101 workshop, the Scholarship 101 workshop is a 3-month course study where we are going to be teaching everything scholarships. Now, we are inviting people who are very, very well versed in this subject area to be able to speak to us. Now, one of the persons that is coming is one of the big giants in scholarship platforms in Nigeria, Olumi Iwayo, who is a colleague of mine. He's currently in Canada as a postdoc, and he runs the scholarship campaigns as well. And he was on the Korean government scholarship as well. And after Korean government scholarship for his master's, he did his PhD in Canada, in Toronto, and now currently working in Toronto as a postdoc and moving on to another state in Korea, in Canada, to be able to, as a professor level. So one place could be a stepping stone to other. Do not box yourself in one, place. It's all about you and how you make the best out of it. So Gerald, I'll come back to you. I've been doing the talking. So I think the next thing is what is the scholarship package? How much are we talking about here?
Okay, so first of all, the scholarship covers your tuition. You're not going to pay anything at all for anything related to tuition, and you pay your flight. So I'm taking it from where I had a scholarship and how I came and everything. So I had to pay my own flight, and I got here. Your dormitory is ready. You don't have to pay any tuition, nothing. And then during your stay, during your first month, you start receiving your pay. So actually, I'm doing an integrated course, and so I'm doing like a master's for a year, and then I'll do a few years of a PhD. So now for master students, the range of payment for stipend varies depending on your professor, depending on your project, and all that. But then the minimum for a master student in the GIST or in one of the IST schools is somewhere between, I'm going to use dollars, it should be at least $600 to maximum maybe $1,000 per month. Yeah.
That's good. Based on the standard of living in Korea, actually, that's so good.
Yeah. So that is for master students, and then for PhD students, I think a minimum is about $1,002, and it can go all the way to even 2.5K dollars.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So out of that, you can also pay for your accommodation, isn't it?
Yes. So out of that is where you pay for your accommodation, but then your health insurance is sponsored, your taxes are covered. Basically, all you have to do is pay for your accommodation, your own eating, and
your pocket money.
Yes, that's all.
Yeah.
You're sorted.
Yeah, sorted.
Yeah.
So I think you spoke about the integrated course, and was it the agreement you started off with, or it was something you started your supervisor further wanted to improve you in that?
So I actually opted for that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Opted for that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you can apply directly for the integrated course here in Korea. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, this one there is free bonto. It's very good. Like, it's a straight, like in Ghana we say unaisi bibi, so you get your next point. You are not left hanging, or you are not left after a master's and trying to figure out, oh, okay, where do I go to, or that. But that's not to say that if you get another opportunity elsewhere, you can leave and go for that opportunity. But if you don't, you still have this opportunity there, right?
Yeah.
Great. I think the conversations lead on. So that will show that the time span of funding is dependent on the course, isn't it? Depending on the time that if you have an integrated one, then it goes all the years. So, but for a master's, imagine I just apply for a master's. For how long does the funding last for?
So for masters, so far from what I know, the master students finish by 2 years. Mostly. So I don't get to see if maybe the funding can go after the 2 years. But I know for all the while that they are here, they are being funded. Yes. Even to the last month that they even graduate, I mean, you receive your pay.
That's very good, because in the UK, it's another story. We're going to that. Everybody's enthused about but until you realize that your funding doesn't really, it lasts within that time of study, but really that time of study really doesn't cover a lot of things. So the better for you. Okay. I think someone asked, I think that would be timely before my last question is, do you need a recommendation letter as part of the documents needed for the application?
Yeah, so I used one recommendation letter, which was just the requirements needed. One recommendation letter from one lecturer. That was all.
Was that necessary, or you just decided to?
I think it was a requirement. Yes, it was a requirement. Yeah. But it would differ for other schools.
Oh, right.
But for mine, it was one.
All right. Okay. Great. Okay, so I think you made mention of that 3 minutes interview. Of yourself. That was a video interview you had to do. Have you heard for maybe an exceptional case where after you've been pre-selected, somebody was asked to go for an interview with a professor or the school or whatnot?
You mean after the selection
Yeah, so
process?
after you've been applied to the school, you've gained the admission, you've been told that you have the
Okay.
KSP scholarship. Maybe you have to, before you be given the scholarship, which obviously, did you have to go for an interview?
No,
No,
no.
no. It's sort of like a
It
straightforward
was
pathway.
just the yes, yes. For this case, for the school, it's just a straightforward pathway. I don't really get your question, but
Yeah, I think that what the person is asking is based on the fact that maybe you get the admission, then they hold on and bring the scholarship after. So when you get the admission, they do an interview to see whether you are viable for the scholarship. But it doesn't happen. The admission comes
no,
with the
no,
scholarship.
no. Yeah, it comes to the scholarship. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, you're
yes.
notified on
It
that.
comes
So
to
it
the
settles
scholarship.
the fact
Yeah.
that you don't need any interview to be able to be cut down for.
Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm getting some questions as well. Someone is asking, so that would mean that we are taking the questions for it. Then we'll go to what's any culture shock might have come, but we'll get there. So, does the university have medical school? And if yes, do they accept foreign undergraduate?
Okay, so this particular university does not have a medical um, school. They do have a biological sciences department, but um, it's more like an engineering, um, a bioengineering kind of stuff. I've not really done major research on that, but we don't have a medical school as it is. So I think you can check with other Korean universities. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to pay an application fee before for
Yes.
the admission? Okay.
So I paid an application fee of $50 at the time, which was last year around
Okay.
this time.
Okay. So you have to start your so everybody. So if you have to start saving up for $50 now, I think the dollar rising has gone a bit high. So we are talking
Yeah.
about probably a 350 Ghana cedi. So your one NSS alawa should be or the application fee. So you can start saving up for that if you're interested. So someone is asking that when you're done with your program, are you mandated to leave the country or you can stay for a while?
Okay, so I think that question is timely because I think a few months ago, first you had to either apply an extended scholar, and that one just gives you an extension of 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. Yes, 6 months, and then now they have updated it where they have another type of visa where it's like 2 years for students, where after your studies you can then take an extended visa if you want to work, if you want to um, apply, do a postdoc, or do any other kind of stuff. That is also open now. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So someone is asking if the application is open. I think that you said that and the deadline
Yeah.
varies, right? So yeah, it's
Yeah.
opened. What's the admission rate? He made mention of the fact that if you have gone past, if you get supervisor, something, you have an 80% chance of getting through. So I didn't get your point on applicants from non-STEM backgrounds like law and humanities. Please, is it possible for persons with law? I think we can take the questions after. We can answer them as frequently asked questions in our session. And that would be good. That would be better so that we don't have to deal with this, right? Is it agreed?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that would be better. Yeah. Okay, so if you're just joining us, or if you have been joining us, we'll take the questions as a frequently asked questions, maybe on the Dear Young Graduate page, on social media. I can see a couple of questions here. We just forward them to them, and if you could do that, forward it to Gerald, and we will take it and answer them on the page as we are speaking now. So that would be better. That would help. Thank you all for coming. And it's quite unfortunate. Usually we don't share the link. I think we have some group pages that we share the link to. So maybe that's already hard. So somebody gets through that. So sorry for that. So I think if you sort of now understand why we don't share the link, we put the Zoom ID and the code on the flyer. That helps, or send it personally to you guys. That helps much better. And yeah, thank you very much, Gerald, for coming. I thought we could have some chat about material science and engineering, but we wouldn't bore them. But it's good to see. It's good to see that material science and engineering is gaining those wings. Back then, we are still doing it, and yeah, it's a lovely, it's a lovely course. It's a good learning curve. It's a good study. Keep on doing. And obviously, I know people are going to be reaching out to you on how to, certain questions they have personally as well. So please do share an extension or hand. I think that the application is quite an easy process. So for personal statement, you can just share with somebody to have a read through for that when you're applying. If the case is different for the application you are, try reaching out to us on Dear Young Graduates as well. We can share it with him, and he can also share it with his colleagues so that it would help. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Gerald, also for coming, and sorry for the inconvenience. So we are currently running Scholarship 101 workshops, which will be starting in April. So do reach out to the team. It's a 3-month course on scholarships and all scholarship opportunities. So do reach out to us, and if you want to be part of it. It's good having you all, and see you sometime, another scholarship. Enjoy your morning, afternoon, evening. I've been your host, Lois Damte, the founder of Dear Young Graduate. And together with me running this session has been Anna Barbara Jacobs, liaison officer, and Charity, mainly handling project management and other co-host rights responsibilities. I see other teams on here, but yeah, we'll quickly appreciate them in the next scholarship session. So see you, all of you, and enjoy your Saturday. Bye.
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 Thanks,
Adios.
Adios. We're supposed to learn a Korean bye, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is it, Gerald?
Anjogi Kaseo.
Anjogi Kaseo.
Anjogi Kaseo.
Anjogi Kaseo.